Well, hello there. It's been a minute since I've been able to talk to you about Mistborn. Well, the time has come. I have now finished Well of Ascension, and I do have my thoughts. I will try to share them with you today. I will do my best in this video to not have spoilers for either of the first two Mistborn books until I get to the point in which case I will say that I will be talking spoilers for this book. At that point, you may, of course, leave. Let's start off with Book 2 of the Mistborn trilogy, The Well of Ascension. What are my thoughts? One of the things that's most interesting about this book is that it takes into account the major events of the last book in a way that I just don't think books always do. The instigating event for the final climax of the first book, The Final Empire, actually drives a significant portion of major decisions of this book as well, and I think it fits. Like, it is a giant thematic thing that happened that affected all of the people involved, as well as like culture as a whole. So in this book, starting off right away, we have a completely different situation and paradigm than we started with in the first book, and that's kind of awesome. Due to the nature of this sort of new situation that the characters find themselves in, everyone is dealing a little bit with imposter syndrome, and they feel like completely out of place, and we get to watch them try to adjust to their new roles in what the new normal has become. We get to delve deeper into almost every single one of these characters in a meaningful way, and also part 1 of the book very quickly sets up a mystery within the greater mystery that is this entire series, which allows us to start making theories and looking deeper into every single interaction we get to experience. And because this involves a conscious effort from one of the characters, we get to play our thoughts against Vin's thoughts as she goes throughout this whole mystery solving process. Something I didn't get to expect this book was to get to bring back some of the characters I thought we'd thrown away in the first one, as well as introduce a new character. And this new character is a mystery. And so we have 2 mysteries right off the bat, on top of the fact that I've already mentioned in The Final Empire that Mistborn as a whole seems to have this greater mystical, magical, like, yes, it's a fantasy book with a lot of magic, but there's a definite almost like creepy vibe to some of the elements of the magic here that just isn't present in a lot of the other Cosmere books that I've read thus far. And I absolutely love that. There's prophecies, there's decrypting old documents. We got to see that in the first one. We get to see a lot more of it in this one. And there's a lot less expositing about certain elements that I found annoying in the first book. This book, we get to focus more on the characters, as well as a ton of time spent on the politics of what to do with the aftermath of the first book and the sudden brand new set of challenges everyone faces. Well, I think this is a big book, and Brandon Sanderson doesn't accomplish making it feel absolutely breakneck pace from beginning to end. There are parts that are slow. It is constantly engaging because of these new facets being introduced at a fairly steady pace throughout. Unfortunately, some of my criticisms for this book, which I'm very high on, note that I did give this book 5 stars, but some of the things I noticed in this book were things about some of the villains in this story were that, like, the primary villain in the story is the most definitively evil villain I've seen in a Sanderson novel. There's not a lot of nuance to him. In fact, he is just the most mustache twirling villain there is. I know for some people that's a big turnoff. Personally, I'm a little mixed on it because it did make him extremely easy to hate, and hate him I did. And thankfully we get to see the hate that we have for that villain reflected in many of the characters. The dude's a monster. Additionally, we get to see some unfortunate elements of, I don't know, I don't want to get specific on the spoilers here, but there's a couple tropes that are thrown in that I very much dislike. Thankfully, they seem to have resolved themselves within the context of this book, so I don't think we're going to be dealing with that so much moving into book 3, but they are present and they are kind of annoying here as well, though I will say that they're handled better than I've seen them handled in some cases. But overall, I think this sequel pretty much improves on any of the major parts of the first book that I didn't like. It handles them better in this book, as well as introducing a lot more things that I love. The way that the greater mysteries and the smaller mysteries in this book resolve in this book, and also don't fully resolve in this book, and are huge cliffhangers and like hooks for the next book, were awesome. I absolutely loved the way that everything came together at the end of this book. I think any amount of pushing I had to get through in the early stages when it wasn't as quick was completely mitigated by the ending, as well as the fact that I did get to know these characters better. One of the things that I mentioned in the first book was that explaining of the magic system and the tutorials section for the magic system felt a little bit extraneous. That's still present to some degree here, though we don't have to deal with the tutorial as much. And just in case you haven't heard, in the first book, one of the magic systems was kind of mentioned but not delved into deeply. We get to see a lot more of that here, as well as like specifics, but I think it was handled a lot better instead of the way that it's handled in the first book, where it's just literally a tutorial like a video game. There's certain elements of this book that were much darker than I expected, like some of Brandon Sanderson's darkest work. And the ending of this book, during the final climax, I specifically started thinking, I wonder how Brandon Sanderson feels when he writes some of this stuff. Like, does he take pleasure? Does he want to make readers feel bad and cry? Like, is that something he takes joy in? Regardless, I love this book. I had a fun time talking about it with all of my friends. I had a fun time beginning to theorize about the next book, and frankly, I just want to read Hero of Ages right now. I said the same thing about the Final Empire, and then I put some books in my way. I'm doing the same thing here. I want to jump right into Hero of Ages, but I put some other books in my way. I think that's all I can really say about the book without jumping into spoilers. I kind of find it hard when you're talking about the second book in a series to talk about too much without being specific and still being helpful to people that might want to read the second book, but like, you know, it's hard to talk about a lot of specifics without giving away spoilers. If you haven't read any of this series but you want to know my thoughts before you jump in, I think it's awesome. I think you should continue. If you read The Final Empire and really liked it, I think you should continue. If you read The Final Empire and you weren't so sure about it, but you want to know if you should continue in the series, let me know what you didn't like about the first book in the comments down below, and I'll let you know whether this fixes the problems that you had. Because I do feel like some of the things that we experienced in the first book that are kind of annoying are out of the way now, but I could still see some people having certain problems with the first book that aren't addressed in this one. But in case anyone's looking for my stamp of approval, it's a 5 stars. I definitely loved it. I want to jump right into Hero of Ages. As always, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the bell for notifications. Hit the like button if you like the video. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of this book down below. You could buy the Frick shirt. It's available now. Merch store down below, as well as a link to the Patreon if you'd like to support me there. Even if you don't want to support me there, but you want to talk to me about books at any time, at any point of the day, there's a Discord server available down for everyone below. Please join, talk to me. I'm desperate to talk to people about books. Now let's jump into spoilers. Now every single person, every single one that I talked to about this book when I finished it was like, oh, tell me your thoughts on Tensoon. You gotta tell me your thoughts on Tensoon and Orseer. That part was crazy. It got me. It completely surprised me, caught me off guard. I was not expecting it all. I was kind of getting to the point where I was like, I have no freaking idea who this person is. I thought it was going to be somebody important, but we've narrowed down the important people. I thought maybe it was going to be a staff member. Oh, frick. It's Orseer. He's dead. And the most interesting part about the way that is handled is that Vin sort of forms a relationship with him, like to the point where he helps her at the final battle, and that's super surprising. He kind of breaks his contract, but because of it, she doesn't die. And so you sort of feel really bad for him because he, like, even though this relationship was like foundationally built on a lie of who he was, I think there was a lot of honesty there, and I think a lot of the story that he shares there is really sad and really cool. So I'm pro on the Tensoon storyline. Didn't see that coming. But let's talk about my boy, the dude Zane. What is up with this guy? He's kind of one of the most fascinating and yet, like, kind of cliche and tropey Cosmere characters I've seen so far. I both love him and hate him. The thing I hate about him is he does the Riku thing from Kingdom Hearts, the like tropey thing where a random stranger goes into a group of established friends or like brothers or sisters or whatever, is like, hey, you shouldn't trust them. I know you don't know me, but you really shouldn't trust them. And then the person who's in an established friendship group is like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't trust them. And it's like, okay, this is a little obnoxious. Like, I know, I hope she doesn't turn away from all of her friends. Like, Vin, the Vin Zane thing never clicked for me. It was like, join me, I love you, but also, I don't know. And then, like, the whole Zane thing, first of all, he's got the most My Chemical Romance, like, Zane wins the award for most My Chemical Romance vibes as a Cosmere character. I'm not okay with me out. Like his whole insanity thing where he has this voice in his head that's talking to him and you think that he's crazy until the moment that he dies. That part, okay, listen, for the Zane thing, I struggled. Anytime he was doing the, don't trust your friends, Vin, trust me, nobody knows what we go through, right? I understand it, he had a messed up childhood. I'm not trying to ignore the trauma in his past as a character, but that part annoyed me. The part that I thought was kind of cool was this element of every time he sees a person, it's like, oh, kill them. Oh, kill them. Oh, kill them. And then he didn't do it to Vin, and then at the end, the voice talks to him. That part I thought was way cooler than the Tensoon part. I don't know why that spoke to me so much. But that confrontation with Vin was like an insane final battle where like he starts burning atium and she doesn't have atium, and then she has to figure out how to defeat him with atium. Zeta's like, I love you, join me, let's ditch. And she's like, I can't do it, I gotta stick with Ellen. He's like, he doesn't love you. And she's like, nah dude, I gotta kill you if you're gonna kill me. And he's like, maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me. And after all, you're my wonderwall. And then she freaking kills him without atium, and it's dope. It's so cool. Vin is awesome. Vin is awesome. There are multiple points in this book where if I was at a professional wrestling event, I would be like, you know, this is awesome. I loved getting to know the crew member. I loved, like, Breeze having this, like, girlfriend. Like, that part was sweet and fun and silly and cool. I liked that he was forming a relationship with Clubs. When he died, I was broken. Like, him and Dachshund both died. And I was like, oh, frick. This is going bad. And I was like, there's a lot of stakes, but like sometimes Brandon Sanderson does like high stakes events and nothing happens. When I lost Breeze, I don't even freaking know. Like, he's not okay in the head either now, and that's scary to me because I really was liking where his character was going. But the ending, though, I loved that this book starts off with Sazed going and finding that inscription on the wall that's like, yo, don't trust anything that's written in metal. He freaking writes it on paper. He knows that it's getting edited somehow. And then it freaking ends up, like, he shouldn't have trusted it. It ends up the crazy thing. And Vin lets the thing loose. And you don't know what the heck happened. Like, that whole thing was such a freaking twist. I loved it so much. That and the whole, like, Mistray thing. What the heck is going on? It seems like it was trying to help people by stopping them from doing the bad thing that they thought was a good thing. I thought Vin was the hero of ages. I loved the ending of this book so much. All of the magical weirdness. Like, I feel like I didn't get that out of some of the other Cosmere books. Like, I don't know. Listen, I really like the other Cosmere books, but none of them have, including Stormlight Archive so far, have brought me certain elements of the weird, just creepy, weird magic, mystical, whatever that is. Mistborn's bringing that hard. I loved the development we were getting with Ellen, so I'm glad that he's going to get to be like the Emperor now. I think that's cool. I loved his whole arc where he was finding out how to become a better king, and he was taking a lot of Tynwald's advice, but he wasn't taking all of Tynwald's advice because he wanted to like maintain some of his own political like theory and study. I thought that was cool. The politics stuff isn't the most page-turning stuff, but I did find it interesting, and anytime there was a major plot there, like when Ellen got first dethroned, I was like, frick, this is nuts. This is buck wild. I love the introduction of Duralumin, whatever that other metal was. That was cool. The way it like amped everything up. I think it'd be cool if we get even another metal. Like, I like the introduction of these weird metals that the other Allomancers don't have, but Vin has to sort of figure out her powers along the way. Once again, Mistborn feels very video game-like in like good ways and bad ways at the same time. That's cool. And the Koloss, though, like that was a cool thing. It's like the closest we've seen to Brandon Sanderson doing orcs, I think. But they're orcs that could be mind controlled. Like, what are the ethics with mind control? Listen, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I think mind control is kind of one of the most like inherently evil powers. Like, for someone on equal status with you, or you know, some kind of controlling status with you, steals your free will, I think that's a bad juju. I wonder if we're going to deal with any of that in the third book. I'm sure there's something major that I'm forgetting, and I would love to discuss that with you in the comments down below or in the Discord, so please just let me know. I really did enjoy this book a lot, as you could probably tell, and frankly, I'm trying to get through the other things that I have planned as fast as possible so I can read Hero of Ages sooner. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you are having a good day, and I'm so glad that I'm finally getting around to this series that so many people have been excited for me to read, so thank you for encouraging me to do this. I love you guys all so much. Have a good one. No, I never get enough. Always looking out tired. Sleep. No, I never get enough. If I don't show up, I might get fired. Sleep. No, I never get enough. Always looking out tired. Sleep. No, I never get enough. If I don't show up, I might get fired.